Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we're here to present State Project number 138-252. State Project number 138-252 is the Rehabilitation of Bridge number 2150. It's located on Route 15 over Freeman Brook in the town of Stratford. We're going to have a short presentation for about 15 minutes or so. And after the presentation, we're going to have a question and answer session where you're going to be able to communicate with us via, we have 3 different ways for you to communicate with us, via email, phone number that we have here on our page, and via the Q&A icon at the bottom of the Zoom window. A recording of this presentation will be posted after the live event on YouTube. Closed captioning, including non-English translation options, will be available at that time. And just to go in more detail on the ways for you to communicate with us. So the email is dot project138-252@ct.gov. That is dot138-252@ct.gov. By phone number, and it's by leaving a voicemail, and please make sure to include your contact information and include as well the project number. And that phone number is 860-594-2020. Or like I said before, by using the chat option here, actually it's the question and answer option in Zoom, which is at the bottom of your window. And a sample of what that window looks like is to the right of the slide. And you can type your question at the bottom where it says type your question here. I just want to mention as well that the comment period is open through February 3rd, 2023. But it is important to note that the Q&A session, it's only in Zoom, it's only open and are available during this presentation. Additionally, we have a project webpage, and that is portal.ct.gov/UT Stratford 138-252. And all this information is available there as well. And just general project information. So if you need that after the presentation, you can always go there and you can get additional information. Title 6. No person shall, on the basis of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation or subject to discrimination in the development of this project. And it would be greatly appreciated if you guys can do the voluntary post-meeting survey. And the link is here below. We're going to be posting it to the chat option here at Zoom as well. So you can basically copy and just paste that link to your web browser, as well as the link for the Title 6 information is available, which is here, and it's going to be available on the chat as well for you to copy and paste if needed. And now let's present the project team. So first we have Bart Sweeney. Bart is the Division Chief of Bridges. Then to the right of Bart, we have Derek Lazard. Derek is the Consultant Bridge Design CLE Program Principal Engineer for a group. And then to the right of Derek is Al Garcia. Al is our Supervisor Engineer for this project. To the right of Al, it's myself, Leslie Ruiz. I am the project engineer. And to the right of my photo, it's Matt Giannakopoulos, and Matt is a right-of-way coordinator, and he's going to be talking about the right-of-way process in a little bit. Then from our consultant liaison engineer, BL Companies, we have Jennifer Usher. Jennifer is the senior project manager. Mike Woods is the project manager, and Tom Beckman is the senior engineer. And Tom will be presenting the existing conditions for this structure, and as well as the proposed design for the project. And our design consultant for this project is Harbor and Associates. And now, Tom, you can start with your part of the presentation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Leslie. Again, I am Tom Beckman with BL Companies, and I'm going to run through the project with you. Here is a project location map of our project. In the center of the screen is our subject bridge, 2150. This light blue line running from the top to the bottom to the page here is Freeman Brook. This yellow line running left to right across the stream is the Route 15 or the Merritt Parkway. To the right of our bridge is exit 53, which is the interchange for State Route 110, shown as Main Street and River Road. We are now looking at that same area as an aerial view. Our subject bridge is now shown in red in the center of the screen. Again, Freeman Brook is shown as a light blue line running up and down across our page, and the Merritt Parkway is running left and right. Interchange 53 is to the right of our bridge. To the north of our project area is the Orinoco Village condominiums, as well as the Orinoco Village Country Club. To the south is a residential neighborhood made up of Meadowmere Road and Tanglewood Road. During the course of this presentation, you may hear us use terms that aren't necessarily familiar to you. We thought it would be helpful to introduce you to a few of these. The Department of Transportation refers to any culvert or large pipe over 6 foot in diameter as a bridge. For this project, when you hear us referring to the structure as a bridge, please realize that it is technically a culvert. In this slide, you can see a pipe going under the roadway. The pipe invert is at the lowest point on the bottom of the pipe. In this slide, you can also see a wall built at the end of the pipe. In this case, the wall is at the outlet of the pipe, so it is called an end wall. The wing walls adjacent to the end wall help retain the embankment, control grade elevations, and also prevent scour and soil erosion. The next few slides are going to introduce you to the structure. Bridge 2150 is a 201 foot long, 10 foot wide by 8 foot high, cast in place concrete box culvert. It was constructed in 1941 as part of the Merritt Parkway's construction. The average daily traffic, or ADT, for the Merritt in this area is approximately 86,000 vehicles per day. There is a concrete encased sanitary main running through the culvert, which is owned by the town of Stratford Water Pollution Control Authority, and it was constructed in 1971. The photo on the left here shows a photo of the inlet of our culvert. Here you can see the end wall and wing walls, as previously discussed, as well as the culvert structure. Additionally, this concrete structure running through the right side of the culvert is the sanitary main and its concrete encasement. A few more photos of our culvert. On the left is now looking at the outlet. Again, we have our end wall and wing walls. On the left here, the sanitary main is running away from the culvert. You can also observe some staining across the encasement in this location. That is due to a storm drain outlet uphill of this location and that water running over the sanitary main. There, you also notice the voids below the encasement as well as the wing wall footing. Those will be addressed as part of this project. The photo on the right is looking through the culvert downstream. On the right is the concrete encasement for the sanitary main. On the left, you can see some staining of the concrete, which is due to water seeping through the culvert wall. Again, this will be addressed as part of the project. Now we are looking at Freeman Brook. The photo on the left is looking upstream from the inlet to the culvert. The photo on the right is looking downstream. Again, we can see our concrete encased sanitary main, as well as some erosion on our channel embankment. And again, this will be addressed as part of the project. Here are photos of the Merritt Parkway above the culvert. On the left is southbound Route 15 looking north, back over the culvert, which is approximately in this location here. On the right is Route 15 northbound looking north, again over our culvert, and the exit 53 off-ramp is in the top center of this photo. The project purpose and need is to address the structural deterioration of the culvert. Bridge 2150 exhibits numerous cracks in the concrete, spalls, exposed rebar, and active leakage. An example of this is in the photo in the bottom left corner here, where you can see the missing concrete, exposed rebar, shown here and here, as well as the groundwater coming through the culvert wall. The outlet cutoff wall and wing wall foundations and concrete encased sanitary main have been undermined by Freeman Brook. That can be seen in the photo in the center of the screen. Notice the voids below the concrete here, as well as below our wing wall foundation there. The project will also address the channel and embankment scour downstream of the culvert. A photo of this is in the bottom right screen, and you can observe some of the embankment scour there. The next few slides will go through the proposed rehabilitation plan for the project. Please understand that the project is in a very preliminary phase of design, and it will be refined as it progresses. Bridge 2150 is in the center of our screen and now shown in orange. Throughout the culvert and the wing walls, the concrete will be patched, as well as other concrete repairs to address the condition of the culvert. At the outlet, we will repair the undermined cutoff and wing wall, as well as constructing a pre-formed scour hole consisting of riprap or large stone. In addition to this pre-formed scour hole, boulder weirs will be constructed across Freeman Brook downstream of the scour hole. We will also be cleaning and rehabilitating the storm drain system, as well as relocating the outlet so it no longer flows over the concrete sanitary main encasement. Due to the construction of the scour hole, a portion of this sanitary main and its concrete encasement will be replaced. The cross-section view, or typical section, shows a view of the culvert as if the earth was sliced like a piece of cake at the center of the culvert. The work to rehabilitate the culvert and wing walls is shown in orange, and this will be conducted while traffic along the Merritt Parkway travels above. The project will require a temporary access road in order to allow the contractor access from the roadways to the culvert outlet. Again, please note, this design is preliminary and will be refined as it progresses. A single access road will be constructed, and it will come from the exit 53 off-ramp, stay within state right-of-way to the culvert outlet, and is shown here in brown. This layout will be coordinated with the CT DOT landscape unit to minimize impacts to mature trees along this path. At the completion of construction, the temporary roadway surface will be removed and the disturbed area will be graded to match existing as well as revegetated. As previously noted, there is a partial sanitary sewer main replacement that will be coordinated with the Town of Stratford Water Pollution Control Authority. There are anticipated environmental permits associated with the project. These include the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers pre-construction notification, the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection pre-construction notification general permit for Connecticut, the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection individual inland, wetland, and watercourse permit. There are anticipated right-of-way impacts with the project, including a partial property take, as well as 2 construction easements. The department has coordinated with the Town of Stratford on with the project on June 28th of 2022. The department has also presented the project to the Merritt Parkway Advisory Committee on July 20th of 2022, and the project was well received. There will be additional coordination with the Merritt Parkway Advisory Committee and the town as the project progresses. I will now turn the presentation over to Matt Giannakopoulos with the department's right-of-way unit to review the right-of-way process. Matt?
Thanks, Tom. I'm Matt Giannakopoulos. I'm a project coordinator with the department's Division of Rights-of-Way. It is our office's responsibility to acquire the property rights that are needed for transportation projects. As Tom just mentioned, the proposed project design does require the acquisition of some construction easements and one small property take, partial property take. So I'm just here tonight to give you a brief rundown of our right-of-way acquisition process. And before I do that, I just want to elaborate a little bit on what we mean by construction easements. So the department buys construction easements when we need to use a portion of private property to allow for the construction of the project, but the owner still retains ownership of the property, and upon completion of the project, those get released and all rights revert back to the owner. Any property rights that are required for the project will be acquired in accordance with the Connecticut General Statutes sections 13A-73 and 13A-98E, and whenever there's federal money used in any phase of a project, the department must adhere to what is known as the Uniform Act. Now, when the design has progressed to the point where we know exactly what we need and we're ready to begin the right-of-way acquisition process, each impacted property owner receives a letter of intent to acquire from our office, along with a property map, which depicts the exact rights to be acquired. Our office determines the fair market value of those rights, and we use that to establish an offer of just compensation. That offer is sent out to the property owner in writing, and a right-of-way agent from our office is available to meet with the owner, and they can explain in detail the project, the impacts to the owner's property, and explain how the state came up with their offer. The property owner has a reasonable time to consider the offer and enter into negotiations if they choose. Once an agreement is reached, the state prepares all the necessary paperwork to transfer those rights. So they'll prepare a deed, any necessary subordinations to any mortgages, and they'll file the deed and the property map on the town land records. However, if negotiations reach an impasse, in order to keep the project on schedule, the department may acquire the rights it needs through its power of eminent domain. And what happens in that case is the department files a notice in the local superior court, along with a monetary deposit in the amount of the state's original offer of just compensation. The property owner would have 6 months from that date to file an appeal if they felt that the offer was inadequate. Whether or not the owner chooses to elect their right to appeal, the money that was deposited in the court is available to be withdrawn by the owner at any time. So I know a lot of people, when they hear eminent domain, they think it means the state just takes their whole property for $1, but that's not the case. The property owners are entitled to at least the original offer of just compensation, and the state only takes title to the property rights that it needs to allow the project to move forward. In this case, those construction easements in that one partial acquisition. Upon completion of the project, no matter how the construction easements were acquired, we file an affidavit on the land records and release those, and all property rights go back to the owner. I'll be here to answer any questions during the Q&A portion, but in the meantime, I'm going to hand it back to Tom to finish the presentation.
Great, thanks, Matt. Few last items here. The estimated construction cost for this project is currently $1.5 million. That is to be funded with 100% state funds. There will be no town funds required for this project. Construction is anticipated to begin in spring of 2026 and end in fall of 2026. The schedule is preliminary and is predicated upon the availability of funding. I am now going to turn the presentation over to Jennifer Usher with BL Companies, who will be the MC for the Q&A session.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. So good evening, everyone. As Tom mentioned, my name is Jennifer Usher. I also work for BL Companies. And as Tom also mentioned, I will be your MC this evening. So just as a reminder, there's a few different ways that you can communicate with us. The first is by email, and that is by sending it to dotproject138-252@ct.gov. You can copy it from the chat and put it into your preferred email platform and send us an email there. We will grab that email and post it on the Q&A. The second way to reach us is by phone, and you can dial 860-594-2020 and leave a voicemail. And the third is by the Zoom Q&A. I will be honest, that's probably our preferred format. It's the easiest way for us to see your questions or comments and be able to answer those. Just as a reminder, the Zoom Q&A is only available during tonight's session. You will have 2 weeks to submit any additional comments or questions that you may have, and that can be done through the email or through the voicemail. And if you're looking for some more information, please visit our project webpage, which you see there, and I've also posted in the chat. And so with that, we will start the Q&A session. Just please note, we will get to every single question. Once the question's answered, it will be posted under the answers section of the Q&A so that you can go back to that. And with that, I am going to open it up. And so it looks here like our first question is coming from Ms. Shear. And I do apologize if I'm not pronouncing your surname correctly. And she is asking, how will the proposed rehab affect the water runoff and water level of Freeman Brook? And Dave Chichia with BL Companies is going to answer that question, so I will pass it over to him.
Thanks, Jennifer. I'll answer the second half of the question because it's super easy. The water level will not change, as this is just a rehab of the existing box culvert. So there's no change to the hydraulic area. We do have that work downstream, which is actually going to help me answer the first question. Because the water runoff, although the quantity of runoff is not going to change, the quality is going to improve. If you saw the pictures earlier with the rust within the structure and then the rust downstream, especially at that sanitary line, we're going to eliminate that from occurring. So your actual water will improve, but the flow is going to stay the same.
Thank you so much, Dave. I appreciate that. All right, some more questions are coming in. This is coming from Mr. Rohde, and he is asking, the project is anticipated to begin in 2025. What is the anticipated end of the project? And perhaps he means construction. I'm going to hand that over to Tom Beckman with BL Companies.
Thank you, Jennifer, and good question. For clarification, when this was sent out in the public notice, it did note that construction was anticipated to begin in 2025. We are actually anticipating construction to begin in 2026 in the spring and be completed in fall of the same year. So the project will be one construction season.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate you addressing that question. Another question from the same gentleman is asking, will the disturbed property be returned to its pre-project state at the termination of the project? And Tom, I will hand that back to you.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. And again, great question. And I'm going to take this as we are focusing on the access road. So the access road will be installed as part of the project. It will require grading as well as some clearing of the land. Upon completion of the project, that surface will be removed. But during the installation of the access road, it will require some of the mature trees to be removed. Again, the Department of Transportation Landscape Unit is going to help develop the best path to avoid taking out too many trees for this process. Again, at completion, the topography of the site will be generally restored to match existing, and it will be revegetated with a planting plan developed by the department's landscape unit.
Thank you, Tom. And let's see, it looks like we have a question from a Miss Hunting. She is asking what the exact property address is that the state is looking to obtain a take on. And Tom, if maybe you could just flip back to that slide, and then I can hand the question over to Matt Giannakopoulos with a ConDOT rights of way unit, so we can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question, and thank you for flipping to that plan sheet. So the addresses that we're showing are 400 Keating Drive and 144 Meadowmere Road. And so we're not looking to take over the entirety of the properties. It's just a small portion by the structure itself. But those are the property addresses that we're looking to. But again, we don't anticipate it impacting any structures, any homes or anything like that, just the vacant areas right in the limits of the brook. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. I hope that addresses her question. And let's see, we will move on to our next question. It looks like we've got a good turnout this evening, which I'm going to tell you, as being part of the project team and having done probably a couple dozen of these, we really appreciate getting this input. Love answering your questions. We want to make sure that we're reaching out to everyone in the public, really at the early stages. No design has really been done on this yet in any great length. So this is the time where we really want to hear your concerns so that we have time to incorporate that. So just want to say thank you for taking some time out of your day to join us and listen to what we have about this project. So with that, I will turn it, to our next question. This is from Ms. Cooney, and she is asking, is this brook the same brook that runs from the Parkway through my property? Her property is 172 Meadowmere. And I'm going to turn that over to Tom Beckman with BL Companies.
Thank you, Jennifer. I brought us back to our project location map here to help better illustrate Freeman Brook's path. So again, our bridge is here. Freeman Brook runs here below Tanglewood, under Main Street, under River Road. I believe your property at 172 Meadowmere is located in approximately this location. So yes, it is the same brook that runs through your property.
All right, thank you, Tom. Again, thanks a lot. And moving right along here, we have a question that's coming from back from Ms. Hunting, and she is asking what hours and day the construction will be taking place. Let's see, who can I turn that over to answer? I think I'm going to actually probably have to turn that back to Tom. And Tom, I will give you a hand with that. I know. Oh, I'm sorry. Mike Woods is actually going to take that. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
apologize.
Was having some issues with the mouse
Little
there.
delay.
Yeah. Love our digital world here. Yeah, another good question. Obviously, with the close proximity to the residential houses right there, the intent is not to have nighttime work. We're trying to do this during the day, likely Monday through Friday. This is still something that we're coordinating both locally with the town, try and get their input. Obviously, we have these public input meetings to hear people's concerns about that. But it'll likely be typical construction timeframes. Again, during the day, nothing overnight. I should say we don't expect anything to be overnight, and on weekends either. I would expect Monday through Friday, maybe 8 to 5 duration, something like that. Hope that clarifies things and hopefully alleviates any potential concern there.
Thank you so much, Mike. Yeah, I just want to add on to Mike's response there. And Mike is also with VL Companies as well. Like you said, we do not anticipate any night work or weekend work. We do understand that we are on the Merritt Parkway. We're very close to residential. Not to say that there wouldn't be specific activities. If there were, those would be communicated ahead of time, that type of thing. So we want to be very respectful of our neighbors that are around that area. And with that, I will move to our next question. This is coming from Mr. Rohde, and he is asking, what is the access road material, asphalt or crushed rock? I think I can actually take that one, even though Tom did mention that he would reply to it. So again, it hasn't been fully designed, but typically it's made out of crushed stone. So hopefully that answers Mr. Rohde's question. Thank you so much. And then I'm going to move on to the next one. And this is coming, let's see, Anson Davis asking, will there be any delays or any lane closures on the Merritt Parkway, or will they just be using the access road? Fantastic question. With that, I will hand it back to Tom Beckman.
Thank you, Jennifer. And again, great question. For the work associated with the culvert, the contractor will just be utilizing the temporary access road that will be shown once I come to that slide again. In order to perform the work on the culvert, there will be no traffic coming off the Merritt Parkway. Although we do anticipate that as part of the storm drain cleaning and rehabilitation, I had mentioned previously that contractor may have to do short-term shoulder closures to allow for that work to be completed.
Thank you, Tom. And if you don't mind, I just want to circle back on, I believe it was Miss Cooney's question regarding the brook, and she was wondering if it was the same brook that was going through her property. The project team actually just took a look at the GIS. It looks like that maybe it may not be the actual brook. It may actually just be a smaller tributary that goes through your property that then empties into the Freeman Brook. So just to kind of help clarify that. All right, and then I will turn back to our Q&A to see what we have here. Okay, we have a question here being asked saying, how was it determined that this project needed to be done? Was it a routine inspection or is there a current problem? I will take that. So one of my roles for BL Companies is as the program lead for the CLE program that we work with CONDOT on. And the way a project actually comes by us is through routine inspection usually. Not to say that there hasn't been, issues that have come up that will then create a project, but this is more of the traditional type of project, which gets kind of sent to us because the bridges or culverts are inspected usually on average every 2 years. Sometimes there'll be more frequent inspections if the condition does deteriorate to a point where the department feels that's necessary. So this came up as being in need of repair. Interestingly enough, the structure itself is actually in fairly good shape, which is fantastic because it means we don't need to do a whole lot and we can just repair the inside. It's really kind of the head walls that we really need to address. And so those were rating at a 4. Which is basically just kind of stating that, hey, this is something that needs to be addressed, either in a rehab or a replacement. Obviously, we want to spend our money wisely. So we're looking to maintain any of the infrastructure that the state has whenever possible in lieu of doing a full replacement. So hopefully that answers that question that you had. And this will really just extend the life of the culvert that we have, which is really our goal. Bring it to a state of good repair. Okay, Ms. Cheer is asking, thank you for your answer. Just to clarify, the water level of Freeman Brook won't increase during the project itself. That's very good point and question. And I'm going to hand that over to Dave Tichia with BL Companies.
Thanks, Jennifer. So during the project, there's going to be a temporary pipe that conveys the flow of Freeman Brook through the structure. Anything upstream or downstream is not going to be impacted. So on your private property, whatever flow that you see today will be the same flow that you see during construction.
Okay, and hopefully that answered Ms. Scher's question. If it didn't, please just maybe add in another question and we'll get right back to that. Thank you, Dave. Let's see, we have a question from the resident at 222 Meadowmere Road, and she is saying that she lives, that her property is closer to the bottom of the access road, and that her property has an extremely high water table, noting that her basement has 2 sump pumps that run 24 hours a day. Property recently failed perk test for new septic leach fields. So she's concerned that the disturbance of with the road and the cutting down the trees will impact her already saturated land and basement. Let's see. I mean, I can answer that a little bit, and then maybe I can hand it over to one of my colleagues to kind of expand on it. I will say the amount of, I'll say, clearing that's going to be needed to do for the access road is very small in comparison of that watershed area that is probably affecting your property. So hopefully you can take some comfort in that. But let me turn it over to Tom Beckman, who can give you a little bit more detailed answer.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer. And we do just want to acknowledge, we did receive your emails earlier today as well with this question, and it did allow us to be able to do a little research, and we appreciate that. So we were able to pull your septic system as-built from the town records, and we do understand the pumping system you have in place and your concerns with the high water table in this area. Again, what we are showing here is a preliminary design. As a designer starts the design of the project, they will conduct investigations. And now that we know this area is of concern, we'll be ensured to communicate that it should be included so they can identify the high water level table that you're indicating is there. Once that is identified, it will allow them to incorporate into design methods to allow for that to be addressed by the contractor during construction to ensure that there is a stable access road, as well as avoiding moving water under the underground water to the best means capable.
Thank you, Tom. And I'll just add, you know, we understand there's obviously some concerns you have being that close, and we can certainly keep you updated on the project and work with you throughout this. If you want to send any of your contact information to the project email, again, that's in the chat. So that would probably be the most helpful thing, just so that we can kind of keep the communication open during this process. Let's see, with that, I am going to, I think this is similar to something that's been asked before, but Tom Gallady is asking, will traffic on the Parkway be affected by delays or detours? And I'm going to hand that over to Mike Woods with BO Companies.
Thank you, Jennifer. We'll give Tom a little breather there. I know he's been answering a bunch of these questions, so let him grab some water, catch his breath. Yeah, so we had a similar question. Tom did a nice job answering. The intent is not to impact Merritt Parkway traffic out here. We are trying to utilize the access road that you see on the screen here to allow the contractor to access the work area. And the reason we have bits as long as we do is it avoids having the equipment, materials, and contractor closer to the Merritt Parkway. So this should help alleviate any delays. I think, you know, we're talking to all of you that are local there. We know the Merritt is just always busy, so there's just inherently delays. And if you see construction activity, probably gonna have people slowing down just to look. But the intent is to try and impact the Merritt Parkway as little as possible out here.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that response. And I think you're going to help me answer actually the second question here, which is coming from Ms. Simon. And she is asking, what is happening with the concrete over the brook on the corner of Tanglewood and Meadowmere that is right behind 82 Meadowmere? And I will hand that back to Mike.
So I think I found it. I'm trying to do my best on Street View here. It looks like we're talking about some sort of existing structure that potentially runs underneath, apologize, Tanglewood out here. Our project is specifically the culvert underneath the Merritt Parkway. And then we're kind of flipping through some slides here. The structure that is potentially underneath or over Tanglewood here is beyond the intended limits of this project. So we are not expecting to do anything with that right now.
Okay, and hopefully that is the area that Ms. Simon was talking about. Again, if it's not, if we haven't answered any of the questions that you may be posing tonight in this forum adequately or completely, please just give us a little bit more detail. We will stay here as long as you guys have questions and comments. So just keep that in mind and be patient. We will get through everything. I do just want to take a minute just to remind everyone that you do have 3 ways of contacting us this evening. The first is by email, the second is by voicemail, and then third is by using the Q&A. The Q&A will only be available tonight. The former will actually, the former 2 options will be available up until February 3rd, which is 2 weeks from today. So you can reach us by emailing us or leaving us a voicemail. With that, I will move to our next question. This person is asking, let's see, was there a consideration for the access road to be on the north side of the Merritt rather than the south side, and why was it chosen to be on the south side? Yes, absolutely, that was considered. I will hand that over to Tom Beckman to explain more.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. And again, great question. So what I brought up here is our proposed rehabilitation plan. So while typically accessing from both sides of the culvert would be ideal, the work on the north side of the culvert is primarily going to be the concrete patching as well as establishing the water handling. The work on the south side is going to be more intensive, requiring access for equipment as well as material being able to be delivered for that pre-formed scour hole, which is going to require riprap or large stones. Having the access road in close proximity to that work is beneficial to the project.
Thank you again, Tom. All right, and let's move on to our next question. This is coming from Ms. Cooney, and she is asking, so will this project correct the water that has continually run through the property, I'm sorry, through her property since at least 1968? I'm going to hand that back to Dave Ciccia with BL Companies.
Yeah, thanks, Jennifer. Looking at the, I'm on Google Maps here, looking at your property at 172. This is to the east of where the brook actually is. So I don't expect anything to change as far as what's happening in your backyard. So we can, yeah, I don't have much more information I can say right now because, like I said, that's away from where the brook actually is. So I'm sorry that you do have an issue, but we're not anticipated to address that as part of this project.
Thank you, Dave. And I'll just add on to that. It does seem like it's outside of the project scope and the limits for that area. So unfortunately, it doesn't look like, as Dave mentioned, that it's going to affect that. I do want to just note that we are looking to keep the structure hydraulically adequate, you know, based on design criteria. So just to kind of provide that information. Let's see. So I'm going to move to our next question. And let's see, it says also from 222 Meadowmere Road. The boundary line between the new road and my land is the least wide of all the houses. Just a few feet lie between my property and a steep incline up to the Merritt Parkway ramp. It looks like a very narrow spot for huge trucks. Will there be any barrier between my yard and road? I have 4 children and a dog. No, that's a very important question. And let me see if We're going to, you know what, I think, you know what, I can probably just address that. I will just say that we are in the kind of the conceptual design stage right now, which is just very, is the very first part of this. And so this, as we kind of progress in the design and finalize it and add a little bit more detail, we can certainly take a look into the state providing some sort of temporary barrier or fence in that area, just to make sure that, you know, obviously we don't want a dog or children coming into the construction area. The state would certainly want to do what it can do to prevent that. So we'll further look into that and just make a note that that is a concern for that property, which is 222 Meadowmere Road. All right. Let's see, and I will just note that I answered and done. All right. And I think, okay, we'll move on to Anson Davis, asking, this kind of has to do with the project, but how do, oh, oh, I love this question. This kind of has to do with the project, but how do the bridges get the numbers? You know what? That is a great question that I'm going to hand over to someone at the department, DOT. So who from the department would like to answer that question? Let's see. I am going to, you know what? I think I am going to hand it over to the former head of bridge management group, Al Garcia.
Is Al faking technical difficulties again, so he doesn't have to answer this one?
Oh, he is. He
did
interestingly enough that he froze when I went to go hand the presentation over to him. Let's see. If you don't mind, I'm going to just pause on that question and we're going to come back to it. I do not know the answer. And it's a great question. I'm kind of curious. So we'll come back to that. All right. With that, I will go to the next question here, which is asking, what part of 144 Meadowmere Road is the state taking and is it permanent? Completely understandable question. Great question. I will hand that off to Matt Giannakopoulos with Connecticut DOT right away.
Yep, thanks, Jennifer. Thank you for the question. You can sort of see on the screen here that yellow line in the northwest corner of your property, right near the brook, right near the highway. It's just that tiny area that the department is looking to be acquiring a construction easement. And no, that's not permanent. So once the project is completed, that gets released and you retain all the rights that you had before. So I hope that answers your question. Thanks.
And one thing, if I could just add, Matt, if you wouldn't mind, that I think you can confirm this, that even though it's a temporary easement, it will be compensatable. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So construction easements, any sort of property right, like an easement, the same process gets followed and they are entitled to compensation. So yes, thank you for clarifying that.
Awesome. Just want to make sure we kind of clarified that. Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right. And I love these questions. Let's see. And I am we're still waiting for Al Garcia with Condot to get back on and see if we can get rid of his technical difficulties. But while he does that, I am going to go to Miss Cooney's question or comment. And oh, wow, this is great. She's saying just a comment. I think this was a great presentation. I'm going to say thank you so much. You have no idea how much effort goes into this. We really appreciate that feedback. Certainly, if there's something we can do to kind of give you more information or really improve our presentation, please, by all means, just if you wouldn't mind taking a few minutes and giving us that feedback in the survey, we would greatly, greatly appreciate it. This new format seems to be working well. We're getting a lot more participation doing it virtually, but whatever we can do to get more information out and get more input from you guys, we will do. So just with that, but getting back to her question, she does say that I do have some concerns about the wildlife that we have living in this area. That is a great comment. I would like everyone to know that we go through a pretty lengthy and in-depth process, I should say, with not only the Connecticut DOT's OEP division, which basically kind of looks not only at the environmental permits that are going to be required for the project to make sure that we're doing everything to meet all of their requirements and standards, but we're also working with the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. On top of that, we do a search for something that's called the NDDB, which stands for National Diverse database? I'm gonna ask Dave Chichia to save me here.
You got it.
Thank you.
Natural Diversity Database.
National Diversity Database, sorry.
So that shows the areas where there might be a special interest or special species. It could be even vegetation. There is no what we call blob in this area. So there is no special concern species. So for wildlife, I'm thinking more like, deer, rabbits, things that just might be running through everybody's property. There really is no like standard like signage for animals. But truly it really just is the effect of you see construction activities, animals are going to stay away for a little bit. I don't expect to have any long-term changes or any changes at all regarding wildlife that's out there right now and what's going to be out there in the future.
Thank you, Dave. Kind of drew a blank on the first D there for a second, but yeah, that's a great point. And I do have to say, I mean, ConnDOT's OEP division, as well as Connecticut DEEP, they do a great job kind of making sure that whatever we're doing is either eliminating the impacts to wildlife as well as environmental resources, or if it is necessary to have an impact, we're mitigating it, or just minimizing it. I should say mitigate it and minimizing it as much as possible. So as Dave noted, nothing came up here for a particular species. But certainly we'd want to just kind of still proceed using best management practices, I think is what I want to say. Let's see. All right. And so I think we still have just one last question here. And I see that Al Garcia with
yeah, I'm back.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to hand this over to you to answer this question. And it is this kind of has to do with the project, but how do bridges get their numbers?
So the department inspects any structure that is under a state road that is 6 feet or greater. So with that said, those structures, whether it's a culvert or bridge, are assigned a 5-digit number. And, these were developed or assigned a while ago, a long time ago, whenever this was constructed. But if we find a new structure or we find a structure that's over 6 feet that we didn't know about previously, that's been happening along I-84 or 95, those are just at, I think we're in the 7,000s now. So we're in like bridges like 07656 or something like that. So they're assigned a 5-digit number essentially. And they are maintained by bridge safety and bridge management. So it's just sequential at this point.
Great
And
answer.
we
Thank you.
inspect the structures every 2 years. And that's the last thing I want to say. Yeah, we inspect the structures every 2 years.
At least every 2 years, right?
At least every 2 years minimum, yes.
Yes. Thank you, Al. Appreciate
Yep.
that. All right. And that was Al Garcia with the Connecticut Department of Transportation. And let's
Jennifer,
see.
can you just mention for housekeeping about the raising of the hands? We need them. We've been seeing participants raise their hands in the participant section. So, we prefer you if you can type in your questions or email or phone, right?
Oh, thank you so much. I didn't
Yeah.
see that. Yeah, we're actually in this format, we're unable to call on you. So yes, if you can use the Q&A to type in your question, we will address it there. Alternatively, you can certainly use the email or the voicemail and leave a message there, and we will pick it up and then we will respond. Just as a reminder, you do have until February 3rd to send in any questions or comments to the email or voicemail. Sorry, I know I'm probably sounding like I'm repeating myself, but I just want to make sure it's getting out there to everybody. This Q&A will only be available for this evening's presentation. So with that, it looks like we do have another question that came in, and it's saying, is there any chance part of the new road project will involve taking care of the horrible running bamboo infestation at the bottom of the exit 53 ramp? It looks like she is telling us that there is some invasive bamboo that is located there. I would say I can probably take that one. At this time, I'll be honest, it's not on our radar, but we can certainly take a look at that. Bamboo is considered to be an invasive species. And in the past, we have had our projects incorporate the scope of removal of invasive species especially when it's affecting environmental conditions. So I think the best answer I can give at this point is that this is something that we'll look into. I appreciate the information. We'll pass that on to the designer as well as others at the department, and look to see if that's something that should be included with this project. Let's see. All right. So I am just going to take a second. I don't see any additional questions that have come up. So I am, if you, this is going to be my advertisement to take our survey. I promise it will only last a couple minutes. So if you have a few minutes after this and you don't mind just clicking on that link and taking the short survey. Again, the department has really put in a lot of effort to trying to get this information out there to the public in the best way possible. We're really just looking for you to give us your feedback so we can kind of help kind of perfect these presentations. You know, anything that you think we should have included, anything that you liked, didn't like, we're looking for it all. We really, really appreciate your feedback. But I do, again, want to thank everyone for taking time kind of out of their personal time this evening to join us to learn more about this project. We are looking forward to bringing the structure to a state of good repair and extending its service life. We certainly want to make sure that with everything that we're doing, we do understand that we are between residents as well as the historic Merritt Parkway. So we really want to minimize our impact that we're having while this project, or, you know, while for this project, I should say. So I guess with that, I will know. Oh, wait a second. We do have one question that came in. Let's see. This is saying, okay, thank you. There is a bridge that goes over railroad, over railroad on tracks on Connecticut Route 174 in, I believe he's saying Newington Court, that doesn't have a green tag number. Oh, but you said it is for bodies of water. Oh, you know what, Al, I think that's probably a question that's going to come back to you. And it does say Connecticut Route 174. So that would be the, oh, I'm sorry, I said Newington Court, it's Newington, Connecticut. My apologies.
Yeah, so we inspect and maintain any structure that, any state road that goes over either a body of water, over another road, or a railroad, or even a pedestrian crossing. If it's a state road over something, we're inspecting and maintaining it. And it would have a 5-digit number associated with it. I noticed you mentioned a green tag number. Not all of our bridges are tagged with that green placard. Most are, I believe, but not all of them. But it would still have a 5-digit number, and we would routinely inspect it.
And I'll just add, I know, you know, that particular bridge is separate from this project, but certainly if you have any specific questions about that bridge or concerns, you're still more than welcome to use our project email and just send us your information. We can certainly get back to you to let you know, when that bridge was last inspected and what it's rated currently, or give you an opportunity to voice any concerns you may have with it. Let's see. And with that, all right. Oh, this, you know what, this is a really good point. I just wanted to note here, well, I'm assuming it's a resident, could be a business owner, but anyway, someone local is just noting to please take care to save as many trees as possible. They are a great sound barrier. Absolutely. That's just one of their purposes. The department certainly understands. Like I said, their OEP division, as well as their landscaping division, we're going to be working very closely with. We're going to be working with Sue Fiedler, who is part of ConDOT's landscaping division, to essentially take an inventory of the existing vegetation and then look for ways to quickly replenish that after construction. Not only are they a great sound barrier, as you mentioned, but they're certainly essential for the wildlife in that area. So we want to make sure that we're replacing those as much as we possibly can and minimizing any disturbance we have. Okay. And I just want to give everyone just a couple more minutes, if you guys don't mind, just in case someone has one more question or comment that they want to add in. Again, just as a reminder, a couple of different ways to contact us. And if you have a few minutes, if you could just take the survey, we would greatly appreciate it. If you're looking for more information or just a quick summary, obviously, I think we've given you a lot of detailed information here tonight, or I hope we have. But if you're looking for a quick summary for reference, we do have a project webpage that is posted up in the chat as well. And you can click on that, and that will give you some more information. Certainly, if it doesn't answer any questions you have, please reach out to us through one of those communication methods. And with that, I do not see any additional questions. Oh, one question just came in. Okay, it says, the bridge looks fine, but I wondered why it didn't have a green plaque, but now I know. I am not concerned about the bridge because it looks fine, but thank you. Oh, well, I appreciate that. All right, good to know that there's no concerns that you have out there. So again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening. And yeah, we look forward to completing this and bringing the structure to a state of good repair. Thank you again for your time and have a good evening.